Imagine this. You wake up next to someone you once swore you couldn't live without. The morning light filters through the curtains, casting soft shadows across their face. They breathe peacefully, oblivious to the quiet unease growing inside you. You turn away, staring at the ceiling, and in that moment, somewhere between love and obligation, between nostalgia and indifference, you feel it. That hollow space. The love is still there, isn't it? You think it is. You hope it is. But it doesn't feel like it once did. The passion that once burned in your chest is now a flickering ember. The deep connection you once revealed in has become a predictable script. You tell yourself this is normal, that love matures, that the butterflies were never meant to last. And yet, a part of you whispers, is this all there is? It's a quiet, insidious question, one that haunts even the happiest of relationships. Love, once the intoxicating force that made life feel limitless, now feels expected, routine, predictable. It should feel safe, yet at times it feels suffocating. The very thing that once set your soul on fire now seems to demand its slow extinguishment. And then there's the paradox. If love is supposed to be the pinnacle of human connection, why do so many people feel alone in their relationships? If love is the force that binds us, why do marriages end in divorce, and why do long-term couples quietly resent each other? Why do those who crave love the most find it slipping through their fingers, while those who seem indifferent to it often attract it effortlessly? Something is deeply wrong with modern love. We swipe, we match, we fall into each other's arms, but are we truly falling in love, or just performing it? We craft the perfect versions of ourselves for others to adore, only to realize that we have become strangers to ourselves. We chase love as if it's a finish line, only to cross it and feel more lost than before. The great question isn't just, why is love so hard? But rather, have we misunderstood love entirely? Perhaps love was never meant to be the fairy tale we were promised. Perhaps we are playing a game we don't even understand the rules to. Perhaps in our desperate search for love, we have unknowingly become its greatest saboteurs. But why? Why does love, the thing we claim to desire above all else, so often leave us feeling empty? What if the very way we think about love, what we expect from it, what we demand of it, is the problem? And if that's true, how do we escape it? This is where the unraveling begins. You were never taught how to love. Not really. Sure, you absorbed ideas from childhood, movies, books, whispered conversations. You learned that love was something to be found, something to be earned, something that would complete you. The stories told you that love was a force, an undeniable gravity pulling two souls together. They never warned you about the slow erosion, the inevitable decay. They never told you that love alone was not enough, and so you entered the world searching. Searching for someone to make you whole, for someone who would see you, understand you, save you. And when you finally found them, for a while it felt real. It felt transcendent. But then cracks began to form. Small at first, then growing into chasms. And one day you looked at them and wondered, why don't they make me happy anymore? The answer is chilling. Love was never supposed to make you happy. At least not in the way you were told. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "It is not a lack of love, but a lack of friendship that makes unhappy marriages." But the modern world has twisted this even further. It's not just friendship that's missing, but an understanding of the self. Love, as society sells it, is an escape hatch. You feel incomplete, so you look for someone to complete you. You feel lost, so you look for someone to guide you. But Carl Jung warned of this illusion, calling it projection. When we fall in love, we are not falling for the person themselves. We are falling for the idealized version of them, the version that reflects back what we need. This is why, in the beginning, love feels effortless. You are not in love with a person. You are in love with the fantasy you have built around them. The way they laugh, the way they look at you, the way they make you feel important. It's all a mirror, a projection of your own unmet needs. But as time passes, reality sets in. The projection fades, and what remains is the real person, flawed and complex. And this is where modern love falls apart. Because we were never taught to love reality. We were only taught to chase the dream. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that love is not some divine, poetic force. It is a biological illusion. A trick played on you by your genes to ensure reproduction. Think about it. Love, in its most primal form, is designed to lure you into attachment. The passion, the obsession, the hunger, it's a survival mechanism, ensuring the continuation of the species. But what happens once the mission is complete? The brain chemistry shifts. The thrill fades. The person who once felt like an addiction now feels ordinary. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that love is not some. This is why so many long-term relationships dissolve into apathy. The love that was once fiery and all-consuming has fulfilled its evolutionary function. Now, you are left with the truth, the person behind the illusion. And if that person was never truly known to you beyond the fantasy, the relationship begins to crack. And yet, we keep repeating the cycle. We leave one love thinking the next will be different. We search for someone who will bring back the high. But each time we unknowingly carry the same flaw, the belief that love is supposed to be the source of meaning, rather than something we bring meaning into. Jean-Paul Sartre famously said, "Hell is other people." Not because people are inherently terrible, but because in relationships, we so often become prisoners of how others see us. Modern love has become performance art. Social media, dating apps, and cultural expectations have turned relationships into a spectacle. We curate our love lives the way we curate our online presence, showing only the highlights, presenting an image rather than an authentic connection. We want love to be grand, beautiful, Instagram-worthy. And in doing so, we suffocate the quiet, unglamorous reality of love. We expect our partners to be everything. Our best friend, our therapist, our muse, our protector. But Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning warns that when we demand external forces to give us meaning, we set ourselves up for suffering. Love cannot be the foundation of your self-worth, because the moment it falters, you collapse with it. And here lies the hidden problem of modern love. We are trying to extract from it what we should be cultivating within ourselves. We seek wholeness in another person, rather than in our own existence. We want them to save us from our loneliness, to validate our worth, to shield us from the discomfort of being alone with ourselves. But love in its purest form is not possession. It is not validation. It is not escape. Love is simply the space between two people, a space that can either be nourished or neglected. But in a world obsessed with consumption, we have been taught to consume love rather than build it. And this is where the tragedy begins. Because when love stops feeling like the fairy tale, when the magic dissolves into monotony, we assume something is wrong. We panic. We leave. We chase the high elsewhere. And in doing so, we repeat the same mistake over and over. Love isn't broken. We are. But the worst part, we don't even realize it. Love is supposed to make us feel alive. But in the modern world, it often does the opposite. You see it everywhere. Couples who stay together out of habit rather than passion. Relationships that feel more like business contracts than deep connections. People who claim to love each other yet spend more time staring at their phones than into each other's eyes. Something is deeply, fundamentally wrong. But we don't talk about it. We tell ourselves that love naturally fades, that this is how things are supposed to be. We normalize mediocrity in relationships, convincing ourselves that passion and connection are things only new lovers feel. And when we do feel that lingering sense of dissatisfaction, when we start to wonder, is this all there is? We bury it. We tell ourselves we're being ungrateful, that we're expecting too much, that we should just accept what we have and stop chasing fantasies. And so we stay, we settle. We silence the voice inside us that knows something isn't right. But what happens when we ignore that voice? Psychologists call it hedonic adaptation, the tendency of humans to quickle. But what happens when we ignore that voice? I return to a baseline level of satisfaction, no matter how thrilling or fulfilling something initially felt. The job you once dreamed of, Routine. The home you once worked so hard for? Normal. The partner you once couldn't live without? Familiar. This is the silent killer of modern love. We believe that because the excitement has faded, the love has too. But that's not entirely true. The love may still be there, but our ability to feel it has eroded. We have become desensitized to the presence of the very thing we once longed for. And so the cycle begins. We seek novelty. We crave the rush of something new. New faces, new experiences, new bodies. We confuse this craving with the need for a new partner, when in reality, what we need is not another person, but a deeper way of seeing. But modern love doesn't teach us how to see. It teaches us how to consume. Aldous Huxley warned us about this. In Brave New World, he painted a future where people were conditioned to chase pleasure, avoiding anything that required depth, struggle, or introspection. Love in that world was meaningless, an endless series of fleeting encounters designed to keep people entertained but never fulfilled. Look around. We live in that world now. We have been taught to treat love like a product, to upgrade when dissatisfied, to discard when something better comes along. Dating apps have turned people into commodities, where a single swipe can replace years of connection. We search for the perfect match, filtering through endless profiles, always wondering if someone better is out there. The paradox? The more options we have, the less satisfied we become. Studies in psychology show that when people are given too many choices, they struggle to commit. The illusion of infinite possibilities keeps us perpetually dissatisfied, always looking over our shoulder, always fearing we have settled for less. Love has become a transaction. And like any transaction, once the cost outweighs the benefit, we walk away. But here's the twist. Despite all our options, despite the endless ways to meet new people, loneliness is at an all-time high. How is this possible? Because loneliness isn't about being alone, it's about being unseen. Modern love, with all its swiping, ghosting, and performative affection, has made us more invisible than ever. We exist as curated versions of ourselves, crafted through filters, perfected through texts, optimized for attraction. But in this process, we lose something vital, the raw, unfiltered truth of who we really are. We become so fixated on being loved that we forget to be known. And when we are not known, truly seen, truly understood, we remain profoundly alone, even in relationships. But here's the cruelest irony. Even when we recognize this, we don't leave. We stay in relationships that feel empty. We hold on to partners out of fear rather than love. We cling to the idea of love, even when the reality of it feels suffocating. Why? Because love, even when hollow, feels safer than the abyss of being alone. Søren Kierkegaard called this the sickness unto death. The slow, soul-crushing despair of living inauthentically, of choosing comfort over truth. We fear solitude, so we accept mediocrity. We fear heartbreak, so we avoid risk. We fear loss, so we never fully give ourselves in the first place. But what if love was never meant to be safe? What if love was not about comfort, but about growth? What if the problem is not that love fades, but that we never truly knew how to sustain it? The answer is not to give up on love. It's to unlearn what we think love is. Because the real danger isn't losing love. It's never having known it at all. Imagine this. You wake up one morning and realize that everything you thought you knew about love was a lie. Not in a dramatic, world-shattering way. Not in some Hollywood moment of revelation, but in a quiet, unsettling way. Like realizing you've been living in a house built on sand. You look at your past relationships, your current relationship, if you have one, and see the patterns, the expectations, the silent resentments, the way you've demanded love to do something for you that it was never designed to do, and suddenly the weight of it all hits you. But here's the real question. Now that you know, what do? Step 1. Kill the illusion. The first act of rebellion is destruction, not of love itself, but of the illusion surrounding it. You must be willing to let go of the fantasy, the fairy tales, the Hollywood endings, The idea that the right person will magically erase all of your insecurities and wounds. You must accept that love is not meant to save you, complete you, or make your life feel whole. Carl Jung warned that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our lives, and we will call it fate. And for most people, love is fate. Something that happens to them, something beyond their control. But what if love was never about fate? What if love is something you build, piece by piece, day by day, not through grand gestures, but through the quiet, uncomfortable work of being truly present? To break free from modern love's illusion, you must first understand this. Love is not something you find, it's something you create. And creation is hard. Step 2. Face yourself. This is where most people fail. They search for love to escape themselves. They look for someone who will distract them from their own wounds, their own loneliness, their own existential dread. But real love cannot grow in the shadow of avoidance. Arthur Schopenhauer believed that human suffering comes from the relentless pursuit of external fulfillment, chasing love, success, pleasure, while ignoring the internal void that makes us chase these things in the first place. Most people enter relationships carrying an unconscious expectation. Love will heal me. Love will give me what I never got as a child. Love will make me feel enough. But love is not therapy. Your partner is not responsible for fixing wounds they didn't create. And so the rebellion begins within. You must ask yourself, am I seeking love or am I seeking escape? Do I want a partner or do I want a savior? Am I truly capable of loving or have I only learned how to consume love? Most people don't want love. They want relief. But true love is not relief. It is awakening. And awakening is painful. Step 3. Redefine love on your own terms. Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Most relationships fail because they have no why. No foundation beyond chemistry, convenience, or societal pressure. They exist because two people stumbled into each other and decided to stay. But staying is not the same as choosing. To break free, you must redefine what love means to you. Not based on movies, childhood dreams, or external expectations, but on your own personal philosophy. Ask yourself, what does love look like when stripped of fantasy? What kind of love am I willing to work for, not just feel? What does commitment mean if it's not about obligation, but about growth? You may realize that the love you've been chasing isn't even the love you truly want. You may realize that real love isn't exciting all the time, but that doesn't make it any less valuable. You may realize that love isn't about finding the right person. It's about being the kind of person who can sustain love. Step 4. Choose presence over performance. Modern love is obsessed with performance. We want our relationships to look good from the outside. We want our partners to behave a certain way, say the right things, meet our expectations. But what if love isn't about perfection? What if love is simply presence? The ability to see and be seen without masks, without expectations, without the need to control. This is the rarest form of love. The love that doesn't say, "You need to be this for me," but instead says, "I will witness you as you are." Most people have never experienced this kind of love, because most people are too afraid to be seen. Step 5. Accept that love will never be safe. Here is the hardest truth. Love will hurt you. Not because love itself is cruel, but because love requires vulnerability. And vulnerability means risk. It means loss. It means heartbreak. It means placing your heart in someone else's hands, knowing they could drop it. Most people aren't willing to do this, so they keep love at arm's length. They build walls. They settle for shallow connections. They treat love as a game, a strategy, a way to avoid pain rather than embrace it. But to truly break free, you must accept that love was never meant to be safe. Love is chaos. Love is uncertainty. Love is not a guarantee, but it is real. And real love, messy, imperfect, vulnerable love, is the only thing worth having. If you want to escape modern love's trap, you must do something terrifying. You must love without expectation. You must enter relationships not because you need something, but because you have something to give. You must stop trying to make love perfect and instead let it be true. And most of all, you must stop searching for love to complete you. Because the moment you realize that you are already whole, love stops being a desperate need. It becomes a choice. And that, more than anything, is the greatest rebellion of all. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast open landscape. No roads, no signs, just endless space stretching in every direction. This is love, once stripped of illusions. Not a perfect path, not a pre-written story, but something raw, undefined, and entirely up to you. For so long you've been searching for the right person, the right feeling, the right moment. But here, at the edge of everything you once believed, a terrifying truth emerges. Love was never something to find. It was something to become. From the moment we are born, we are fed a script. Love is something given to us by others. Love is a reward for being good, for meeting expectations, for fitting into the mold society has created. And so we spend our lives chasing love externally, believing it is something out there, something that must be obtained. But real love, profound, life-altering love, does not come from someone else. It is something you embody. You were taught to look for love in people, in relationships, in fleeting moments of passion. But no one ever told you that love is a state of being, a way of seeing, a way of existing in the world. If you cannot find love within yourself, no relationship will ever be enough. If you do not love yourself, not in a shallow self-help cliche, but in a deep, unshakable way, then every romance will feel like a void waiting to be filled. And this is where everything changes. When you realize love is something you cultivate within, something you radiate rather than seek, a strange thing happens. The search ends. Not because you no longer want connection, but because connection is no longer rooted in neediness, fear, or desperation. You do not love out of lack. You love out of fullness. The way you see people shifts. You no longer cling to love as a possession. You no longer demand that someone be a certain way in order to feel safe. You do not measure relationships by how well they meet your expectations, but by how deeply they allow you to experience truth. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing love to complete you, you become capable of the deepest love imaginable. Most love is conditional. It is built on invisible contracts. I will love you as long as you make me feel special. I will stay as long as you meet my expectations. I will give myself to you, but only if you give yourself to me in the exact way I desire. But this is not love. This is control. Real love has no chains. It does not demand. It does not manipulate. It does not shrink in the face of imperfection. It allows the other person to be fully themselves, not just the parts that are convenient or beautiful, but the messy, flawed, unfiltered reality of who they are. And in return, you allow yourself to be seen. No masks, no performances, no fear of being too much or not enough, just you. Here is the truth no one tells you. Every relationship is a mirror. The way you love is a reflection of how you see yourself. If you are insecure, love will feel like a game of validation. If you are afraid, love will feel like a source of pain. If you are incomplete, love will feel like a desperate attempt to fill the emptiness inside. But if you have done the work, if you have confronted your wounds, your fears, your illusions, then love becomes something else entirely. It becomes freedom. The freedom to love without grasping. The freedom to experience connection without fear of loss. The freedom to give without expectation, because love is no longer about getting. It is about being. And when two people who understand this come together, love becomes something rare. Not a transaction. Not a dependency. Not a fleeting high, but a sanctuary. A place where two souls meet. Not to complete each other, but to celebrate each other. Now that you know, there is no going back. You cannot unsee the truth of modern love. The illusions, the traps, the silent conditioning that has shaped your understanding of connection. But knowing is not enough. You must choose. You can continue down the familiar path, seeking, chasing, consuming love as it was taught to you. Playing the game, hoping that one day someone will finally give you what you've been looking for. Or you can wake up. You can stop waiting for love and start becoming love. You can stop demanding that others make you feel whole and start realizing that you already are. You can let go of the illusions, the expectations, the need to control, and simply be. And in that space, in that raw, vulnerable, fearless space, you will find something beyond modern love. Something real, something eternal. Something that was never outside of you at all. The choice is yours. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and make a comment. Hit the notification bell. See you on the next video.